Tom Price is talking about his high-risk pools. We've talked about this significantly. We may put out another video on that, in fact, about the fallacy of these things. But Rand Paul was talking about how the risk pools, if you put all the sick people in a, the size of a risk pool, because they're trying to argue that we should be able to buy insurance across state lines. Now, the fallacy of this is that insurance companies actually want to sell across state lines. We have at least 3 or 4 states in the country that allow for this. Maine, Georgia, there's 2 others. And they found that insurance companies don't want to go in there because A, they don't want to get involved in the individual market anyways. But B, they also don't know enough about the network of providers and whatnot. And there's just not enough profit to be made in expanding into those areas. And so the insurance companies themselves don't want it. But Rand Paul is making the argument, well, if we increase the risk pool, then it becomes cheaper for everybody in the risk pool to have insurance. And Al Franken says the most obvious thing in the world in response. Bear with us.
Of is allowing individuals to join together in groups to buy insurance. Do you think this has a possibility of what Senator Alexander talked about, the millions of people in the individual market? I have great sympathy for that. I was a small physician with 4 employees, and if one employee were to get sick, it could be devastating to not only to them but also to the economics of keeping them employed. But letting us join together into pools where instead of me buying insurance as one of 4 people, I could buy it in a big group, maybe 100,000 people, maybe 1 million people. And currently the laws kind of prevent that, but you had some bills for expanding that, and I'm a big fan of that. Could you mention some of the association health plans and how that might help some people to get insurance who don't have insurance currently?
Yeah. Thank you. Association health plans are one of those entities that would allow individuals who are economically aligned in some way to be able to purchase coverage together, even though they don't necessarily work together or in the same group. Individual health pools, which I think is one of the secrets to being able to solve the individual and small group market conundrum that we find ourselves in, would allow anybody to pool with anybody else solely for the purpose of purchasing health coverage. It's not a new idea. The model for it is actually the Blue Shield plan that existed decades ago that allowed people to pool their resources together for major medical coverage for hospitalization. And it just makes a lot of sense. It allows insurance to work the way it's supposed to work, which is to spread the risk. And then anybody's adverse health status doesn't drive up the cost for them or anybody else because the pool is large enough.
Thank you, Senator Paul. Senator Franken.
I'll tell you how we get a really big risk pool. It'd be called Medicare for everyone. That would be the biggest risk pool. Dr.
And there you see Tom Price with a small smile, and it's like, touche. We got to stop the risk pools at 1 million people.
Oh, I see what you did there, you Jew. You took the point that I was making about the risk pools, and then you just expanded it.
Everybody knows that 1 million people is better for 100,000 people for a risk pool, and 100,000 is better than 4 people. But you have to stop at 1 million.
If you don't stop at 1 million,
you know why? Because it's virtually impossible to count above 1 million on your fingers.
and then you just become Venezuela, and it's just a really bad deal.
If we have Medicare for all, it would be. Oof.
Then all of a sudden we wouldn't have monies to shoot grizzly bears at schools.
Hey, it's Sam Seder. Why don't you subscribe to this channel? You can do so right over here. Over. Subscribe.